I think we'll get through.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. O kia ora tātou pēnā e pai ana māku te karakia. E te atua kaharawa e tūwhera ana ngā katoa ki a koe, e mōhio ki ana ngā hia, e kore hoki e ngaro i a koe te mea huna. Whakahangia iho tau wairua tapu hei whakamā i ngā whakaro o mātou ngā kau. Kia tino aroha i mātou ki a koe, kia tika i te whakanui tau i ngā tapu. Āmine. Kia ora.
Amen. Peter Lucas. Ka pai. So straight into our meeting agenda. We don't have any public with us, so you all know about the housekeeping. We don't have any apologies, we're all here. In terms of declarations of conflicts of interest, there has been a conflict raised, but that's more in relation to the water workshop later on, so we'll discuss that during that segment if that's fine. Otherwise, in regards to conflicts for the draft user fees and charges and annual plan, any declarations, otherwise they can come up at the time. Thank you, Haere tonu, ngā take. I'm just wondering, because we have had this information has come to us several times in workshops and the like. We've all seen the supporting documentation. We're having this meeting so that our staff can continue through and we can keep with our timeframes in terms of annual planning. So these are the three take that we need to get through today. Do we need to hear them go through each recommendation separately, or can we take them collectively?
You can take them collectively per item. Yep, so the first item.
Gee, I'm happy to move 5.1, all three recommendations.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Was just getting clarification. We can do that from Chris. So Rick has moved and Jack has seconded. Do we have any discussion? It's all fairly straightforward. I don't even think we need staff to introduce it, right?
Yeah.
We've gone through the fees and charges. Go for it, Joe.
Kia ora, Council, Tui, Chair. So right now I'm having fun with my laptop, and I've sent you a copy of no internet connection. And while trying to do that, I've actually lost a big can off the front, which I'll get back in a minute. But I take it the item you're talking about is the proposal to approve the draft annual plan for consultation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just the user fees and charges one.
That is correct.
Item 5.1, Councillor Carr.
Well, I'm using my cell phone. If you can read out the item clearly for me.
Councillor Carr, we're just on the draft user fees and charges item at the moment. We then move on to the annual plan as the next item.
Okay. Okay, so I've got a comment that applies to them both. Right. Okay, so I am not supporting the proposal to increase either the rates or the charges. With respect to those councillors who have to date endorsed the annual plan proposal and the fees and charges proposal in today's agenda, I consider that we must pivot and provide similar leadership that the government has by dropping lines of expenditure to help reduce inflation and focus resources on the crises, Cyclone Gabriel and others, and to focus on improving Northland's resistance. Okay, I consider FNDC has a fat belly that the previous council meeting financial reports confirm many millions of underspending. In this crisis, we can and should defer. Although well-intentioned, the spend on increased capacity for Maori governance of NRC does not help our considerable disadvantaged communities. NRC has with the current financial year's underspend over 40 million in reserves without mentioning investment assets. I believe we must ask ourselves what core services our Maori community and the community in general desperately need. And I say it's resilience, resilience, and resilience. Issues like no more human tūtai in our harbours, flood-free roads that provide secure access to our hospitals, allow access to and for essential services and the economy and public services such as schools to function. Why are these relatively easy to fix severe issues mainly in the mid and far north where the highest Māori population is? I believe we must walk the talk. And this is a Jesus moment for this council, and the government has shown leadership. It has actually drawn a lot of its quite convicted policies and actually focusing on the dire conditions that New Zealand faces. And I believe this is a council we should do the same. And if we don't, our communities will respond with great concern. So I have it, and I say this with due respect to you all, because I do respect you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And you're right, our communities will judge us, because that is exactly what we are proposing to do today. We're proposing a 4.2 inflationary increase in charges. Yeah, so I think that our thinking needs to be focused on exactly what we are consulting on, what we're agreeing to as a team today to consult with the public on. We've workshopped this and we agreed that things are tight, and so we wanted to only increase it according to a 4.2 inflation increase. And I believe that when we workshopped this, we also felt that that was reasonable based on the expert advice that we have received. But thank you very much for your comments today, Joe. Can I hear from
Thank you, Chair.
other? Yes. Thank you, Joe. I understand it's difficult too, dialing in. So we thank you for your patience. Amy.
Yeah, kia ora, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Joe. Definitely hear where you're coming from. I guess I just want to say that from my perspective, making sure we maintain the level that our user fees and charges are set at is about ensuring our ratepayers get value for their rates, because it's about user pays with the services that we provide. So it means that the average ratepayer isn't subsidising an individual or a business who is using a service that the council provides. So for me, that's about equity and affordability. So this to me speaks to those values that you have shared with us this morning. So kia ora.
Thank you.
Any other councillors?
Rick has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Rick. Can't see that tiny yellow hand.
I've just put it up. It is a tiny hand. Is that better? Look, I just want to say, Joe, look, I appreciate your comments, Joe. I think they're far more relevant to the annual plan, because, as Amy's just said, the fees and charges really are for those who actually use something, not you specifically use something. So I'm very supportive of these increases. In fact, as I've said before, if we look at some of these charges, they are very, very cheap. If we look at page 17, $110 for an officer of the council is a very, very good consultancy price. So, and our half-day expense for the oil response trailer at $100. That, you know, those are, to me, they're far too cheap. They're barely covering what we're actually spending on those users and charges. So, moorings, for instance, $324 combined. You know, to 4,000 moorings there's just no way we are covering our costs. We're barely covering our costs, if we are in most cases. So I fully, as I said, I've moved all three and fully support the fees and charges increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Yes, hearing that, they are tight already, and we ourselves need to keep an eye on that. John.
I've always supported user pays. I'd rather the user paid for the service than it be subsidised out of the general rate. But saying that, the service has to be checked on to make sure that it is at a reasonable price. And do we compare ourselves with other councils in this manner?
Maybe Bruce might be able to help with that one as to whether we do comparisons with other councils for our user fees and charges.
I have had a look across other councils at the rates that they're charging. I consider us to be sort of middle of the pack. We're not the lowest, we're not the highest. I think, yeah, based on my analysis, I think we're in a reasonable position.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stuart, do you have anything to add?
Through the chair, thank you too. Actually, you caught me. I just put my little hand up, so I'll get that little hand out. And I just had one question, I guess, and it was for both really. I mean, in a sense, around setting the user fees and charges. The 4.2% inflationary increase seems very light. It seems, I'm sorry, I just think it's way too low in the sense that that's not the reality. I think it's a little bit of wishful thinking. Now I do know that everybody's been aligning themselves, or they initially like to align themselves with somebody like Bill because it gives a sort of a paper trail of authentic an authentic paper trail. But look, the messaging I'm getting from around the country is that there are a lot of councils that are really at odds with the Bill synopsis, and that they've really got it wrong. I'm seeing figures of 7, 8, and 9%. And that's in relation to what is an inflation rate that the local government sector is shall we say enduring. So I just wonder if it's a little business as usual, and maybe that inflationary increase, I just question what's it going to be, that we're going to find these charges and that we're going to find that it is going to impact on our expenditure more than we are anticipating, and might that give us a little bit of a headache when it comes to providing the services.
Thank you, Stuart. Jack.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. Very helpful. Again, by way of explanation, I think we set this probably about, first of all, looked at about 7 or 8 months ago, was it, Bruce? And it looked 4.2 looked accurate enough. My question to you is, inflation, when you look at what's happening internationally, inflation seems to have peaked and looks to be coming back down. What's your anticipation for the kind of where inflation is likely to land over the next 12 months? Because remember, we're setting rates for 1st of July this year to 30 June next year. Okay.
Look, my feel from what I'm seeing out there in terms of the globe, and that is that the major influences, you have to look at the US. Okay, the good news on the US front is that they have had 5 months of consecutive reducing inflation. However, it's come off an extraordinarily high level, and it's still well in excess of 6%. We're going to get the February reading from the US later this week. I suspect it's going to be a little bit of a hiccup. And what we're not seeing, and we're hearing this comment coming loud and clear from the US Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, and the rest of the Fed, and that is that they are still desperately concerned about the stickiness of inflation, and they are still continuing to raise interest rates. The market doesn't want to think that, but that's the reality. Now, we've seen European inflation still at very high sticky levels. UK inflation still very high sticky levels. But we're not seeing the decline as sharply as central bankers want to see. Now, if the rest of the world has inflation in 6%, there's no way New Zealand's going to do it on its own. And I think that we're currently tracking. So our fourth quarter inflation rate was 7.2% here in New Zealand. The quarter before that, it was 7.2. And the quarter before that was 7.3. The current quarter that we're in, everything is indicating it's currently tracking about 7.25. There's no doubt that our inflation rate will rise because of what we've seen in the past month and a half in relation to the cyclone and weather events. It is going to hit us further with inflation. So I think in answer to that, I don't see the stickiness of inflation starting to really show any reasonably good levels until at least third, fourth quarter.
Thanks, Stuart. Can I ask for a response from staff, please, Jono?
Kia ora, Chair. I'll have a start, and if other staff want to add to it, please feel free to do so. Stuart, I don't necessarily disagree with your position that 4.2% is very conservative. I've heard other councils also criticise or questioning Burrell's recommendations. Burrell is, however, what we've always historically used, and as a sector, what we've used as the benchmark and the guidance for inflation readjustments. Couple of comments. One, if we didn't use Burrell, who would we use? You've got to have someone to base your recommendations on. Two, this is what we've got in our user fees and charges at the moment. That's not stopping us doing more work between now and deliberations in May to further test the accuracy of the 4.2. There's still a number of months to be testing between here and deliberations as to what the reality of that 4.2% actually looks like, and for staff to bring further advice into the deliberations discussions in May. So my recommendation would be stick with Bill, stick with the 4.2. Don't ignore, though, the advice that Stuart's providing us here, and that we can continue to work on this with some direction from Stuart as well, and guidance, and bring further information to the deliberations in May.
Fine. Marty.
Just one comment or question. Thanks, John, for that. And thanks, Stuart, for your input as well. I just wonder, as a comment, if some of bank interest rates is driven by personal choice rather than driven by central banks, we can see the profiteering that they are taking as to whether they're taking advantage of it, and that doesn't truly truly reflect the inflation rate.
That's for me.
Just a comment or rhetorical question, I suppose.
Well, I guess we're each going to have to vote based on what we each believe. We're basing our advice on the best advice from our staff and the workshops, the previous workshops that we've had with them on this very topic. We're basing it on the advice from Jono that we can revisit this in May. I would like further advice on this, because in other areas, I certainly consider it to be 7+% inflation. In fact, construction's almost triple that. I don't know. That's even higher inflation. So, but based on the need, and hearing Joe wants less, Stuart wants more. And here we are, perhaps with a recommendation on the table that I'm wondering whether the majority of councillors are willing to move it forward, allow for consultation on it, and then also allow for us to revisit it in May. Do I have any further comments? One moment, Stuart.
Oh, sorry, through the chair. Tui, just on that, my question on the 4.2% was in relation to our user fees and charges, and when it comes to the annual report, and going to Jeff's, really very good concerns. I wouldn't, it's not my recommendation that you you apply, a 7% or an 8% inflation rate. I guess what I'm saying is that rate enough if you are looking at a business as usual user fee charge and annual plan, in the sense that does it help? Does it really allow council to do the business as usual, i.e., if we get it wrong? So, in terms of Jeff's points, I think that's an entirely different matter from my perspective. That's not I hear what he's saying, and he's exactly right. We are starting to see people consider a bit of fiscal responsibility to the crisis, but they still need to make sure that the wheels don't fall off the machine, so to speak.
Thanks, Stuart. Yes, we want to make sure we're not squeezing ourselves so tight that we have to pay for it in other ways, and so I guess that's what we're asking the staff for, to reassure us that it's not so, that we're at the sweet spot based on the recommendations and the comments. Any other?
Just one
John,
comment.
are you pointing at someone?
I want one too.
You want to go though?
Oh, right, yeah, I do. Inflation affects businesses in different ways. So the food price has gone up. On the news today, fastest it's gone up since 1989. So it'll only affect the people in this room that eat food. So with council, it has different criteria, isn't it? And inflation affects them in different ways. I think about the roading and the importing of our fuels and our tar steel we use for our road. Well, that's been hit hard with the war in Ukraine, so it's affected roading a lot. So council's inflation, that I think what we're looking at today, is probably different to what other businesses are, and I have a reasonable amount of faith that 4.2 is hopefully reasonably accurate in that way. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Now, who over here was the point of Marty?
Stuart, just a correction, it was Joe that did
Yes.
the talking, not Jeff, just so you're
Yeah,
aware of it.
just for the record.
Yes.
Sorry, Joe.
Jeff hasn't spoken yet.
I do beg pardon. Sorry about that, Joe. I was being dyslexic.
That's fine. Well, if we're ready to go ahead, and I just, for perhaps Joe's convenience, revisit the recommendations for this one on the adoption of the draft user fees and charges. So there's 3 recommendations. Basically, one is that the report adoption of the draft user fees and charges 2023-24 and approval to consult by Nicola be received. 2, that council adopts the statement of proposal and draft use of fees and charges for the purposes of consultation to be carried out in conjunction with consultation on the annual plan. And 3, that council delegates to the group manager, corporate services or authority to make any necessary minor formatting, typographical and administrative changes prior to formal public consultation. We've had a mover and a seconder. We've had good discussion on it. I'm going to go ahead and ask. All in favour, say aye.
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 Yes,
Against?
I'm voting against it. Can you record my vote, please, Chair? You there?
Vote recorded, Joe.
Yes, look, I support the first part of the recommendation, just the following parts. But thank you.
Okay, would you like us to go through them one by one? Is that going to be easier for the record?
No, I don't think it's necessary. You can just note that I supported the first part and voted against the second and third provisions. That's cool.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Councillor.
I will put a secretarial note, but essentially he voted against the motion on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had come together. John,
Joe did send that statement through by email, so I can get through to you, Chrissy. Chris?
do statements go on the record?
No, we
Okay,
don't
thank you.
record why people vote.
That's
for or
fine.
against.
Thank you. But we
Louise,
did, yeah, sorry.
No, thanks.
You've got my vote recorded.
Yes, and we have recorded your vote, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
Heidi
Chair.
Tonu. Next is the adoption of the annual plan supporting information for consultation.
Page 52.
Page 52, thank you. Jack?
I will second.
Oh, would you like to move? Because I think you might have been the
Oh.
first.
I'm happy to move all three at once as well, please.
I'll second that.
And Amy will second, thank you, Rick. So the recommendations, again, we're receiving the report. We're receiving the adoption of the annual plan. Would you like to speak, Joe?
Yes, I'd like to separate it out. So I of course support the receiving of the document.
Okay, yeah,
And
let's do that one by one.
thank you.
Happy to move recommendation 1.
You still happy to?
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, I'm happy to move that.
You can move it and I'll second it. Sorry, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so again, we have had several workshops on the information for the annual plan, and this is for the report to be received. Do I have any further discussion? Okay, so recommendation 1, all in favour say aye.
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 Against? Any against? Carried, thank you. Recommendation 2, that council adopts the annual plan supporting information for consultation, which is attachment 1. Do I have a mover?
Yep, I'll move.
Right.
I've already moved. Yep.
And Jack is seconding that. Any discussion?
Yes, Chair.
Go for it, Joe.
Yep. Yeah. Look. I made a lengthy statement on the previous item, so I'm not going to repeat myself. It carries across to this one. I really believe we've got to be part of the solution, not the problem, and I really think we've got a wonderful opportunity to provide leadership for our community. Northern Regional Council is extremely well resourced, and we've got a lot of unexpended budget in this current year, and I think we could really get out and step out and make. We've got to be part of the solution, not the problem, and that's what the government's requiring. And you know, I know Stuart made a whole lot of statements regarding this is the inflation level across the world. How you beat inflation is only one way. You've got to pull your belt in a bit, and believe you me, the stuff we're having to do up here in our private businesses is a real tight belt pulling in, and with interest rates going up, the difficulty to actually get bank funding, and the warnings we've had previously about the level of arrears that will arise. I think NRC's in a position like no other council in Northland to actually be able to assist this community in beating this inflation and getting on some core infrastructure work. So that's my position, with due respect to you all. Cheers.
Thank you for those comments, Joe. May I remind everyone too that we have an opportunity through the long-term plan process. We will be setting out the budget for 10 years, and that will be our chance where we can really, you know, try and address some of those things that Joe is raising. However, when it comes to rates, we've workshopped it and we've voted on the rates. So basically this recommendation is not necessarily that we revisit, and relitigate that discussion around rates. It's actually just approving the level of information that our staff are prepared to go out to the public. Kapai, do I have any other comments? Amy?
Thank you. Kia ora, Joe. Again, I guess just hearing you and not disagreeing, and I guess just wanting to share my perspective on it, which is slightly different, but with the same values at the core. So I truly agree that supporting our community at this time is more important than ever, and that resilience is fundamental to the work we need to do with our people across Northland. And so for me, that's what this is all about. Within this portfolio of work that we're putting through is climate change work, which was already embedded in the long-term plan, but coming on train in the coming financial year. And for me, the really important part of this annual plan consultation is around retaining our staff, and what we're seeing is what's happening in the market around employment is that we can either pay to retain and have high caliber staff who deliver the work for our people and are really effective and efficient in their work and help us build trusting relationships with our communities and get things done. Or we can lose staff and then spend that money on HR processes, training, supporting new staff to get up to speed. And in my mind, our ratepayers lose value for their rates in that scenario. They're getting less work done on the environment, on their resilience, on the economic development if we are constantly trying to catch up with our staff ability to do their work. So for me, that's a real investment in being more effective and efficient in delivering for our people. And the other thing that's in here, which for me is really important, is the technology upgrades. Maybe it sounds like a nice to have, but I think we've seen more and more that it's a must have. And, you know, even you being able to Zoom in today, Joe, is so important. And the upgrade we've had in this room makes it work really well. And so I really want to support those things that make us more efficient, bring us into the modern age. And there's also the really good carbon savings for our emissions. So want to speak and support holding the similar values to you, I think, Joe, but kind of from a different angle. So, kia ora.
Kia ora, Amy. Great points. Any other discussions, Marty, and then Jeff?
Yeah, I'd like to tautoko what Amy said, and acknowledging, Joe, that we're in very tough times, but there are a large percentage of our population that have been in those tough times for much longer than those of us in the room or many ratepayers who've been suffering from environmental deprivation, where they haven't been able to go out to their larder. And so it's something that the Regional Council is really getting a bit of momentum on, is actually looking after that environment, protecting it, which is at a cost and must continue. And then also agreeing with what Amy was saying about the quality of staff that we must retain in order to be able to do those works. So that's why I'm happy to put this out to consultation and hear what the rest of the population think about it. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Marty. I also see you, Rick, but Jeff, you're next.
Yeah, I think we're just agreeing that this goes out to implementation, really. Like, we're not deciding on whether we agree to 10 or whatever. So we don't want to get carried away. This is only for a discussion point. It's still at the end of the day, I assume, once the consultation comes back to us, then the mihi starts here. Yep. Whether we can look at savings, whether we feel that we are creating inflation ourselves, which we've got to be careful of. So I just think, Joe, I'd take all your words on if anybody's more effective as myself. So this is only a discussion point, Joe, to go out to the next level. Then we have to really decide. And I think the constituents might decide for us and swing us away. That's what I understand from the consultation period.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Rick.
Jeff pinched my comments there, but it's okay. I'll carry on. So, look, I agree. We're only going out to consultation, but I think the fact, and we are deciding later, but I think we've got to concentrate again, as I said, not on the percentages, but on the dollar value. And the preferred option by council at the moment is $2.30 more than we agreed on 2 years ago. It's $2.30 more. It seems crazy to argue about $2.30. I believe that we will actually, we will have support from our ratepayers to go further than this, because when you look at what's offered, the minimum is the option that is preferred. To me, I believe people will support the extra work that we want to do. We always get hassled and harangued at council because we're not getting out quick enough to do enough work, check on things. This is providing extra staff members to do that. So we must go forwards. We must go forwards and support these initiatives. And for instance, we look at emergency services rate, which you know is a favourite of mine, is at $11.50. I think we've almost had 100% support for services like this. And I believe we will still get that going forwards. I know there are difficulties up north, Joe, obviously, but I believe we will have support for this option and I believe support to go a little bit further. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you everybody for your comments and your concerns for our people. And you are right, this is information where we are taking out to consult with them and they'll tell us and then we will sit here and deliberate it again. So I'm going to revisit the recommendation. It's that council adopts the annual plan supporting information. For consultation, now we had the mover and the second.
We did, still working for.
So Rick and Jack.
Chair, can we take 2 and 3 together?
Sorry, what? Do you want to do the third one?
Can we take 2 and 3 together?
I wouldn't mind if
Councillor Carr asked we address them separately, so if he was happy to, but he has the right to ask them to be.
We can do it separate. It's fine. It's fine. So we're going to go one by one. We've done one. We're looking at number 2. That's all right. That's all right. The council adopts the annual plan, supporting information for consultation. All in favour, say aye.
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 Against?
Yes,
Against?
please record my vote there, Chair.
We will record, but Councillor Joe Carr's vote against. Motion's carried. And number 3, recommendation 3, that council delegates to the group manager corporate services authority to make necessary minor formatting. Can I have a mover, Rick?
Yes.
Amy seconded. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Any against? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Now we have the third and final topic, adoption of the annual plan consultation document, page 120.
I'm happy to move all 3 together.
Do we have any objections to moving all 3 together?
Could I make a comment, Chair, please?
Go for it, Joe.
Yeah. Now, I have this internet problem up here, and we've got it again. And I tried to print out parts of this agenda last night. I could not do it. I refused to print out. I had someone come and help me with my computer. They said it was jammed from printing. So I'm actually I can't get internet. I can't get the big can because of that, and I don't have the agenda item in front of me. And so I'm really disadvantaged, all right? And in any rate, that's the lay of the land here. I think it's quite inappropriate that this particular item has been jammed from printing, because I would have got particular pages out and printed them so I can annotate them with my notes. Can't do it. And could you confirm or otherwise whether it's just a problem I've got or whether there's been some restriction on this document so I can't print it, please?
I'll have to come back to you, Joe, on this. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
On this agenda item, Joe, I'm really sorry you can't see it because it's really beautiful pamphlet pull-out thing, and some may recall the last time we had it, we were sort of like folding it, we weren't sure which way it folded. It's really colourful. I've just asked Chris if she can put it up on the screen. I don't know if on your phone, since you are with us on Teams, you may, Chris may be able to share it so you can see it. So basically, it's the decisions that we made previously and voted on, the different options. Can you see that, Joe?
No, what's happened, I'm using the council iPhone, and during the course of this meeting, I've still got connections with you, but my screen has gone completely black, all right? So I can't see you, but I can hear you. So I'm enjoying the great comforts of having extremely good communication system here. I'm in Kaihau. I can see 2 cell phone towers, and yeah. But anyway, we've got audio link with you. That's what we've got. And I have read the council agenda. There's stuff I wanted to read earlier on regarding the water item, and I've only read part of that because and I can't pull it up now. So it's not. Maybe if the staff would like to email me to our private cell phone, or our private email address, that other matters, I would probably be able to open them and get them out. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I should be able to. Sorry, I should be able to pick them up on my private cell phone, the big can. Yeah.
Okay, Joe, I'll ask Jono to follow that up with you as soon as he can, as well as your tech issues. We will have to note that you can't vote on this matter since you haven't been able to see the information. And yeah, we'll all endeavour to support you. And we have a lot more time on the water workshop too, so you can ask the staff lots of questions.
Well, maybe they could email those items to our private email address. We'll just see what we can get there. But I'm not sure, because I would have thought that email would have gone down too. Okay.
We'll get someone. We'll finish off the meeting, and then we'll get someone. We'll get someone to follow that up for you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we're still going to do these.
I've moved the 3 we can take together.
Can we do that?
That's absolutely fine.
Joe's not. Yeah, going to vote. Okay. Oh, sorry.
All 3 together.
I want to just clarify with Councillor Carr that he's not going to vote and that he's happy for them to be taken together, just in case.
Yeah, let's check that. Joe, I'm not sure if you heard that. So now that we're revisiting the recommendations, we're noting that you can't vote, and wanting to just check with you that you're happy with that, because we will go ahead and hear the 3 recommendations together.
Oh. Well, I think I probably can vote as long as you read the recommendations out, and I feel that I've got enough. I've read the agenda, so read the main agenda, and you could read the recommendations out, and I'll make that call whether I've obtained enough information to be able to vote, if that's okay.
Okay, Joe. Would you like to hear the recommendations one by one?
Yes, please.
All right, we'll go one by one. Recommendation 1, that the report, adoption of the annual plan consultation document and approval to consult by Robin be received. So I'll ask who would like to move that. Peter Lucas, thank you. John, so you're going to second that. All in favour say aye.
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 Against? Carried. Recommendation 2, the council adopts and approves an annual plan 2023-24 consultation document included as attachment 1 for consultation. Can I have someone to move that? Jack.
Second.
Second, Rick. All in favour say aye.
Aye. Now talk to the motion, please.
Go for it, Marty.
It's just I brought it up last time that we were talking about the formatting, and it sits on option 1, option 2, option 3, where it just still seems a bit like a sleight of hands of. It says our funding from rates would grow by another 1% on top of the 9.2% already approved, which doesn't empirically state the funding from rates will grow by 10.2%. So it looks as though it's under 10%. And it seems to be shy of saying, well, it's just a little bit on top of what was already agreed. And I really would like to see, so it's there in black and white, as to what our funding from rates will increase by. And I don't know if you put that down to purely, you know, if they could go into the next part of the recommendations. But it's just something that I was uncomfortable with last time we addressed the issue, and it's something that I'm still not entirely happy with.
I do recall it being
support Marty
raised.
there, Chair.
Thanks, Joe. I do recall it being raised at our workshop, and we discussed it. And I had thought that the response was that these are accurate figures.
Oh, they're accurate.
Yeah.
But 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 does not look like 5. 5 looks a lot bigger. So if you put it at what it is actually going to be is 10.2%, then it just adds a bit of transparency and honesty. Happy to hear staff's response to it.
Thanks, Marty.
Which page
Staff,
is that, Marty?
Staff,
Sorry?
would you like to comment on that?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. It's the colourful pamphlet at the back, which will go out to the public.
I got it. I just got to.
You're the chair, if I could, through you. If councillors were happy to approve, we could easily put in brackets 10.2% at the end of that sentence that you just read out there, Marty.
Be absolutely comfortable with that, John. Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we have any objections to it. Does anyone else like to comment on that? Was that a hand up and a hand down, Amy?
Well, I just about how we display it, to me, it would probably read better if it says our funding from rates would grow by 10.2%, comma, 1% on top of the 9.2 already approved.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to do that.
Slightly different
That
paper.
is even
So
better.
it's straight up with exactly what the rate increase is, and then explaining that it's old and new.
All right, everybody okay with that? Joe, you were supporting Marty too. Are you okay with that, Joe?
Yes, I support the transparency. Thank you.
Now, Rick, sorry, you're way over on the other end of the room now.
No, it's all right. I
Rick.
just want to, it's a bit small on my screen, but I pushed the dollar value. It was definitely in the other document. I can't even see if it's there, but
Yeah.
It's on this one as well.
it's there?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's on it,
the
Rick.
dollar.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I like that too. Often the percentages we get compared to the other district
Oh,
councils
yeah,
and the
sorry, no,
dollar.
I can see it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I thought
Any
it was.
other- any other-
Just confirm.
Sorry, there must be a lag. Any other discussion? Okay, we're going to revisit that. Recommendation 2.
So it's got 3 options. Do they, excuse me, Chair.
Go for it.
Is there an option not to agree with any of this?
How does that work?
I'm just looking at, you sent me this, I don't see an option to support not agreeing with any of this. Yep.
Jono?
Kia ora, Chair. These were the 3 options that we presented to council through the workshops, and these are the 3 options that we're highlighting to ratepayers. There's nothing stopping anyone writing a submission that says, I don't agree with any of this, and it should be a different option. For example, 0% or something less. There's only so many options, I guess, you can cover in it, and these were the 3 options that council said that you wanted us to highlight.
I think it's so we're not taking a blank page, but yeah, so the submissions are going to be clear that people can make their own ideas, put forward
So
their
on the
own.
bottom of this, like you could have, can somebody actually fill out on the bottom of this the reasons why they don't want to pay 10.2%?
There'll be and I'm looking over there at the staff to make sure I get this right, but there'll be forms that people can fill in that provide, this is what my submission point is and this is why. And it doesn't need to be these 3 options. These were just the 3 that you guys said that you wanted us to highlight. but it could easily go, I want a 2% rate increase for this reason and this reason, and this is what I want the 2% to fund.
Yeah, so that'll be on, if somebody's reading this and goes, I don't like any of them, it's very easy for them to fill out something else.
There'll be a link there, guys, or I'll go to Robin, who's got her hand up there.
Yes.
Wanting to just clarify.
The submission form prompts none of these options. So it has all of the 3 options and then it prompts to, I don't like any of these, I'd like something different.
Okay.
Yep, and so everywhere that this document directs you will have that set of 4 options.
So if you're a person like Joe from the Hokianga, how do you get this?
The consultation document.
Yeah.
So you can get a hard copy of it from any of our council offices, or you can view it online at libraries, or you can view it online if you can. We can email it to people as well. Though.
So what's the advertisement of this? Is it local papers? Is it radio? Get your, have your voice, because that's the key, isn't it?
Yes.
No's having this out because only 1,000 people in Northland know about it. So really want a comms plan to make this work for the people like Joe. He represents, majority of, well, maybe not a majority, but at least, a small percentage of people in Northland who would have no idea how to access.
Thanks, Jeff. I believe that we workshopped comms and because there was a PowerPoint too, so it's probably on the big tin can if Councillor Crawford wants to have a check.
No,
or any others?
check.
Any others?
Yep.
All right, you're right with that.
Through you, Madam Chair.
One moment, Rick. We're going to go with Peter Lucas.
Through you, Madam Chair, I remember speaking in great detail about the importance of an audience funnel and how that funnel impacts on a conversion rate. And that's where a comms team really works out whether their plan is being implemented in a way that is meaningful for those people that live on the ground. Because the implementation of a plan is probably much more important than the plan itself, because there will become moments in that direction of travel that the people that are implementing it need to pivot quickly. And that's to increase the conversion rate around participation. And that really speaks to if we have 1,000 of these forms or whatever in hard copy, what does that translate to when we get to converting the return rate on those forms? Are we do we have a really comprehensive email list of people that we can send out an online form to? And what's our approach to actually support them by having a reminder email? It's kind of like a census, only no one's picking up the form. So like, what's our conversion rate and how do we support those people that we want to consult with to actually provide us with the information? So that's my only comment, and it's kind of in support of what has already been said, but I'm just going to name it and call it what it is, which is a conversion rate. And if we don't know what our target conversion rate is now, I'd like to find out before our next meeting, because we should have a target conversion rate. And I'm interested if through the staff, if we do have a target conversion rate.
Thank you, Peter Lucas. I'm a little bit geeky on the analytics, of the conversion analytics as well. But let's ensure that next time we meet with the team on the annual plan that you give us a little update on that. I'm sure you are initiating and monitoring your funnels.
Can I just ask you, Madam Chair, because now I'm interested, do you in fact have a target conversion rate now? Through you, Madam Chair.
Can I ask that the staff get that too, given that it wasn't on the agenda? Or
sure, but it's something anybody should know off the top of their head, Madam Chair. I mean, if someone's in control of that. Thank you.
Let's just give them some time.
Kia ora, Madam Chair. Just we can email out the communications plan, which we workshop with council a little bit later. So we can do that, just the councillors, just so you've got the communications plan and all the different channels that we were looking at doing. When you say a conversion rate,
Or like,
Councillor
do we
Peter
want
Lucas,
to, like, because there will be different areas where we know, through you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, through to Mr. CEO. But my point is that there are going to be regions that need a bit more uffy, and our approach will need to be modified. Councillor Crawford has raised Hokianga. There may well be other areas that need a modified approach. And if we're really, being honest about what the conversion rate is in those areas now, even for like things like census, or even things like just gathering information, government information in general, we might find that we need to have a special approach in some areas, and that's the thinking behind my question around conversion rate.
I guess John is asking more about tactics, like if as we are attending the Te Ahua Reka Festival, that's going to be one of the annual plan events. We've mostly had a lot of our events already, but that's one that is happening, whether or not you're meaning conversion rates as in everyone that walks into the store compared to everybody that signs a submission.
I'm talking about someone giving feedback that we can count, like feedback that we can count that goes to us making that final decision. That's all I'm speaking to.
Yeah. Okay, is that clear? All right, thank you. I'm sure they'll work on that. All right, Rick, your hand's up.
Yep, look, just quickly picking up on Jeff's point that, is there an option for a 0%? And I just want to reiterate to the councillors what I said before, that the 9.2% is what was already been agreed on. So effectively that is our 0%, because the public know that it's already going to be 9.2%. They've known for 2 years. They've known since the implementation of the long-term plan. So I think that is the issue that we are getting hogtied on, if you like, that it's the 0% effectively, that option is 9.2. So any increase above that is an increase. And we're only talking another 1% on what we, or $2.30 on what we have consulted on previously and what the public has agreed on. So I think that's an important fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And I think we probably have to keep that in mind when we receive submissions from the general public. They may say 0% and mean $0, but we have the benefit of knowing actually, in our case, this is what we're talking about. So thank you, Rick. Any other comments? Otherwise, we'll go back to recommendation 2. Okay, recommendation 2, the council adopts and approves the annual plan consultation document for consultation.
Aye.
Have you got a comment?
No, total call.
Total? All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Do we need to put in with that minor change? Well, that's just part of the typos, isn't it, really? Can be.
Bruce can do it as per 3.
Subject to the changes,
Minor
yeah.
change.
Aye. Thank you, Marty. Recommendation 3, that council delegates to the group manager corporate services the authority to make any necessary minor formatting. Can I have a mover for that? Amy, and then seconding is Peter Lucas. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let's take a quick. Sorry, we're going to close that meeting. Yes, all right. The meeting's closed.
Thank you. And remember, I'm leaving, Chair. I'm driving back
we'll
now.
See you tomorrow, though, right?
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
definitely.
you.
Okay. Bye. See you,
Right,
Stuart.
let's just take a quick break, please. Just
Stuart,
staff
I'll
can
be
give us
driving
5 or 10
back from
minutes.
Life Saving